Welcome to Shinbush Perennials.
Woo woo!
Excited?
Microtonal part 2.
It's exciting. Microtones 2. All from a classical perspective. So this is all going to be like nerdy stuff. It's going to be maybe less accessible than anything that we listened to yesterday. Yes. Except for the Guile Jute, which you really liked.
Yesterday.
The Jute.
Your sense of time.
Oh. I don't know. Whenever it was. A while ago. Oh, wait. For us, it was today, but I guess it would have been a while ago.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Right. This is a week later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was last week. So that was a while ago. I feel totally different now.
Yeah. I'm wearing totally different clothes.
I'm wearing a different shirt.
Yeah. I'm drinking a different beverage.
It's very different. It smells totally different. Right, we're gonna start. We're gonna start off with a little bit of classical guitar, microtonal guitar duo. This guy's really cool. He's the guy who built the Lego guitar.
Okay, well, now I'm really going to say it. I'm looking at this picture behind us here right now, and I'm just going to say, nerds! I'm sure they're great, but come on.
They're super good.
Classical guitarists
awesome.
are the most nerdy. If you guys aren't aware, I love you guys. I love all the classical guitarists out there. One of my very good friends is a classical guitarist. But you guys are some of the weirdest people.
Wow.
The weirdest.
Just a great way to make friends right there.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, this is really cool. It's classical guitar. I don't know much about this, mostly because I think it's more part of the, what is it called? The Eastern traditions. Like, I think it's Turk. I don't want to say anything, but it's definitely nothing that I know about because it's all not. It sounds really good. Let's just put it that way.
Cool.
I'm not going to explain too much about it because I don't know much about it.
All right.
So there's two guitarists. One of them is playing a fretless classical guitar, and the other is playing a microtonal classical guitar.
Okay, as I'm watching them play, one of the thoughts that came into my head is, I wonder what's more difficult. Playing microtonal music when you don't have frets and you have to find those places yourself, or navigating around a fretboard that has so many more notches in it?
I think the fretless would be more difficult simply because you have to do more. But the reason that he specifically wants to not use a fretless is that he really likes, he talked about this in a video he made, I think it was pretty recent, but he really wants to preserve the sound of the classical guitar, and a fretless doesn't sound the same.
Why?
Listen, it's not the same instrument. Anyway.
No, I'm sorry. I'm really trying here. I'm just wondering. I'm a person who plays a fretless instrument, so it's hard for me to imagine why.
Let's try this part. So, can you hear the difference now?
Is it that it's like softer?
The one that's farther away sounding is the fretless, and the one that's closer sounding is the non-fretless.
Yeah, so it's got less bite to it.
Yeah, to me, the fretless sounds kind of buzzy somehow. Like there's a weird warble. There's a weird, like, it doesn't sound the same. It's different. Like the classical guitar has a strong, as you say, I think it's just more percussive and it's a bit more, I don't know. It doesn't sound the same. I love both instruments. They're just different. And he wants to preserve the sound of the classical guitar because, he's probably a nerd. And he really likes that, which is fine.
No, I think that's cool. It seems like a cool challenge to set yourself. Like, how can I make this thing and have both those things?
This is like, I don't know if this is the one he's made like tons and tons of microtonal guitars. I think he's made one where you can remove the frets, ones where you can move the frets around. I think he just like glued these ones in for specific tunings.
Wow.
Yeah, he builds lots of things with his guitars, and like the Lego one apparently was very exciting because it allowed you to change on the fly.
Okay, so the whole guitar is made of Lego.
No, just the fretboard.
Okay.
So like you move to change tunings, you just move the Lego piece forward or backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome. Does
It's
it actually work? Does it actually sound good?
I think it did. Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay.
I think I brought it up just now.
I'm assuming that you have to use like the smooth Lego pieces. Like
I think. Yeah, see, it's not smooth. It's just the normal ones. There's just his little kid playing it, or his kid playing it.
that's so cool!
Right.
Oh my god! Holy crap! That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I didn't expect it to work.
I think it took a long time because I think the bit is the pieces that he's used as frets. I've never actually seen. Have I seen them before?
Oh, the little round ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it exist?
Yep.
Let me explain that. Like that's in tune. It sounds good.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool for the kid too. Like, wouldn't that be fun if your dad could make you a Lego guitar?
I would
love that.
That'd be so great. My dad never made me a Lego guitar. What's the point? It's fucking dumb.
He did give you this cool keyboard over here, though.
Yeah, he's done lots. Just didn't
Yeah.
build me a Lego guitar. Like, come on.
I mean, every time I come in here, I'm like, look at that road.
Oh, you like Rhodes? Well, let's talk about the second person on the list, Harry Parch. I'm sure you've heard his name before.
I have, but now I'm mixing him up immediately with Harry Summers. Damn it.
They sound. I don't know who Harry Summers is, so I don't get them mixed up.
You would probably like Harry Summers. He's super weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's-
I don't think he's microtonal, but he's
Okay.
quite post-tonal.
So Harry Parch has a lot of stuff. He's written a book about music, microtonal, called The Genesis of the Music. I want to read it. I rented it from the library recently. I'm pretty excited.
You didn't rent it. You borrowed it.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
The library is free.
It is free. Oh, I guess that's the difference. Renting you have to pay for.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of our democracy. I don't know what you would say.
Questionable.
It's one of the things I think is
Anyway.
worth paying taxes for. Anyways,
He is interesting because he creates most of all of his instruments. He's created tons and tons of things. He sort of sounds like gamelan. That's sort of his sort of sound world, like wooden mallets, glass.
that's interesting because
Different things.
I like gamelan, but I feel like I remember you saying you weren't so into it because it's a limited scale.
I'm not a huge fan of gamelan. No, I don't really see like. I like microtonal music, and I actually like Harry Parch's stuff because he's making his own instruments and he's making his own scales that are based on like his own things. Gamelan to me, like I don't think I could see myself playing gamelan simply because I don't know anything about the tradition. I don't know anything about where it comes from. Like I don't know the people who made it. I don't know anything. It just seems weird to me that like I would play gamelan music in Vancouver because it's so far removed from its original place. But I mean,
I know it is interesting that there was a gamelan ensemble at our school.
gamelan is a thing in
I always wanted to
Vancouver.
participate. I just never had the time. I had too many other
There's
classes.
a lot of gamelan in Vancouver. It's
Yeah.
not just VCC.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the gamelan that we have had a piece written for it by John Cage.
That's
think.
badass. Wow.
I can't remember. Either it's that one or it's the UBC one. I don't remember. Anyway,
Mm.
the UBC has a gamelan. Like all of the schools have gamelan. I don't know why.
That's really. I mean, I wonder if we just have a big community here of people who like are from that culture. Although we know like the
It's-
VCC teacher is not. Like he's
I think it's like the 1960s hippies people who brought it
yes.
over,
Okay.
which is why I don't like it as
So
well.
it's a Philip Glass kind of thing.
Philip Glass, I think.
I mean, that's kind of his whole thing is like, oh, I'm gonna go over to India and.
Oh, is that really what he did? Oh, I don't like him even more now. Ugh,
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
gross.
Well, you know what? We are going to do a minimalism episode, and we
Okay.
will talk about
I
Philip
don't know.
Glass.
Yes,
That
that makes sense.
I mean, I have a friend who theorizes that he's been trolling the world for the past 50 years, but
Maybe we shouldn't like broadcast that.
no.
I don't know. No, something because he doesn't.
Hey,
you know.
I like Einstein on the Beach. I am not
Uh,
crapping on Philip Glass right now. I just think that some of his stuff is funny.
Anyway, to get back to Harry Parch, who is somewhat similar to Gamelan. Like I think he probably wrote Gamelan. I don't know a whole lot about him specifically and Gamelan, but I know that he liked Pythagorean tunings. His words are very important to him. So like a lot of his music has like spoken word over top of it. Yeah, let's just. I think the most interesting thing about him is that he uses uneven tunings, which we haven't really listened to yet. He uses like uneven. Yeah, he'll just hear anyway.
So, I mean, you don't really notice microtonalness so much in these kind of instruments because it fits.
I mean, I'd argue that you've been exposed to it.
It's just when you hear it on instruments that don't sound Western, you're already like, okay, I'm in a different place. So my ears are ready for it to sound differently than a piano or a guitar will.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's why you can get on board with gamelan. It's quite relaxing, even though the tuning is not necessarily what we're used to.
I could see it. I mean, that's partly why I don't like it, but...
So you don't like that, because I was digging that. That was fun.
I mean, there's parts of Harry Parch that I like, but a lot of it is too close to gamelan and it's not in your face enough. It's too relaxed. I don't like that.
Sometimes the relaxing music is nice.
Yeah. I don't know.
It doesn't always have to be abrasive and off-putting.
I mean, it doesn't. I know. I have to pick and choose for relaxing music. I have to really pick and choose. I mean, I have listened to a lot of this, and I have liked it. I don't know. There's something that I'm just kind of I can't listen to too much of it for too long. Otherwise, I get kind of like I want to move on. But
yeah,
I really appreciate his work, and like he is a huge figure in microtonal music. He's like the guy. Like his book is super influential.
Is he also considered to be a minimalist composer? Because that seems very like.
Yeah, I think you're correct. But I don't think he gets lumped into them just simply because of the microtones. And I think he wasn't in New York, so I think he was more... Some of his other stuff is a bit more dissonant too, which I liked better. This one I just picked because it's like classic Harry Parch sound.
Mm-hmm.
But so interesting note, Ben Johnston, my favorite composer ever. We're gonna talk about him at the end, but he played.
But he's not classical, is he?
Who are we thinking of?
Who am I thinking of?
Definitely, Ben Johnston is 100% classical. So Ben Johnston played in this ensemble that you just heard. Maybe not this exact one, but he played
I'm
and
thinking
was
of
like
Daniel Johnson.
Oh yeah, totally different
songwriter.
Guy. Yeah, not like
I was about to be like, oh, I know I love him, and then I was like, because I think you like him too, right?
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Shout out to someone completely not related to this, although.
No, he doesn't. If he does microtones, it's not on purpose.
Not intentionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which doesn't count.
Ben Johnson. Why do I know that word then?
I've shown it to you before, probably. Well, we will talk about him at the end. He's
cool.
coming. But
so he's playing right now.
I just wanted to mention that this is where he learned his microtuning stuff from. He was like he studied Harry Parch and was like a big help. He helped him develop some of his ideas, I think. Like,
would you say he's sort of like an apprentice in a way to Harry Parch?
I think so, but I don't know how far that goes because they're kind of I think they're kind of similar ages, but I don't know. Anyway, they were very closely, like they collaborated a lot, I think.
Neat.
Yeah, so it was cool. Anyway, the next composer, Easily Blackwood Jr. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. I haven't. Easily? Maybe this is wrong. Anyway, he's really interesting because he's an example of the Wendy Carlos that we were talking about earlier. He's sort of more in the tradition of taking classical music and just intonating it, or he's really weird because he wrote a bunch of stuff that was like very normal and then randomly decided to make a group of etudes in every single tuning that he could think of. So he went like from, I think it was 17 Edo, or was it 13? I think he wrote an etude for every single Edo up to 24.
Cool.
And but because his original like upbringing or sort of like study period was very traditional, and it almost sounds like, I don't know, Vivaldi, I think. Like he has like this is like very classical. I forget that the people who he actually was. There was a bunch of them, but...
Okay, so he has like a Schoenberg-like development in his career where he starts with really traditional stuff and then goes way
I don't think... Because Schoenberg was more like a gradual. He was just like normal and then was like one day decided to just do weird stuff.
Okay.
It was like everyone was like, "What the hell?" And
What happened? Did he take a couple tabs of acid, or?
I think it might have been just like a thing that he thought he would do himself because it never got performed except for one piece. Everything was just electronic based. I'm kind of curious to see what you think of it. So it's kind of funny.
It's funny because in that specific setting, when it's not in the tuning that we're used to, it sounds wrong because of like that. Oh, I'm not putting words together right, but when you hear something like that, you expect it to sound a certain way.
Yes.
And so when it's out of tune, to me, it sounds like it's a joke. I know it's not a joke. I don't mean to be disrespectful to this person's work, but that's what it sounds like, where I'm just like, oh, he's making fun of Handel or something like that, you know? Which I love.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on two fences about him because it's really like, I've listened to the whole thing a bunch of times, and there's a comedic quality for me, mostly because it's kind of ridiculous in some way. I don't know why, because it's so like.
I mean, that kind of music is really ridiculous to me.
Yeah, that's true. Like even without the microtones.
Yeah, Handel, to me, a lot of his stuff just sounds really silly.
So I really like it. It's kind of like Plantasia meets like Wendy Carlos. Well, they're the same thing, but like it's cool. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this next thing, which is Claire de Lune in Just Intonation, which is sort of the vibe that I get when I hear this kind of stuff.
This is the same person?
No, this is someone completely random. I don't actually know who made this. It's in actually in her mode tuning.
Good Lord, Debussy and Justin. Okay.
I know it sounds really weird. I'm so excited. See, I love it. Because, I mean, you could argue that, you know, I love it. Anyway, this is the kind of thing that I'm thinking. There's a lot of videos of people posting things similar to this. Like, I think I have one at the end.
I have two things I have problems with, though.
Okay, let's get it. Wait.
Okay, but, the first thing is not microtonal related.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the pace that they're taking. I think that Claire de Lune needs more rubato than that, needs more slowing down and speeding up.
Okay.
To me, this sounds kind of robotic.
Well, I think it is played by MIDI. I don't think I'm not sure if it's a real piano.
I don't think Debussy can be played by a computer.
Okay. I mean, let's listen to this other one because I think this one is a bit more.
But it's weird to have Just Intonation on a piano.
It sounds the best. Here, listen to this. This is Bach. So this is the real meat of microtonal music.
I why?
Because
like, why did someone like this piece of music it's already beautiful on a keyboard instrument. Also, what is he playing on it? It looks like it's made of Lego again.
It's it's called a tonal plexus keyboard. I've never actually used one. They look really interesting. I think I don't really know much about them, but
is he trying to imitate the actual tuning that Bach himself would have been writing with? Because he was writing before, he was writing around the time that temperament was changing.
No, he would not have written. It says here, Bach did not write music to be played in just intonation.
No, yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, it's an experimental performance. It uses pure thirds, fifths, natural sevenths, and dominant chords, and harmonics reaching up to the 17th limit in diminished chords.
Can we actually listen to the next part? Because that's where the chords get really crunchy.
Oh,
and I
okay,
think
okay.
it'll sound weirder once we get into that bit.
Okay.
So the fact that he's playing it with his hands makes me like this more than the Debussy thing, because at least he's playing it with the musical ebb and flow of
there
an
is a
actual
possibility
musician.
that the other one was played with without a computer, but I don't know.
Well, in that case, I have a bone to pick with him about how they play Debussy.
Anyway, what do you feel about the
Because
harmonic?
I play both these pieces on piano. For the
Okay,
record.
well, how do you feel about this?
I have really mixed feelings because, like, I want to encourage. It's interesting. It's taking me out of my comfort zone, so it's interesting, and also I know I'm coming from a tonal Western bias. So for me to say like, "Oh, it doesn't sound good," it really just shows more about me than about the music itself.
Your experience is I would say is the norm of people who don't have an interest or haven't listened to this music though. Like,
I mean, is he doing this to showcase this wacky instrument?
he says it's an experimental performance, so I was assuming he's just sort of trying it out to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I'm always down for people trying things out. I just don't know. I guess I don't know if I like it as much or more than if it's played on the instruments you're used to hearing this on. Like, you'd normally hear this on like an organ, or if you are okay with playing Bach on a piano, which I am, then a piano. A lot of people are purists about what you're supposed to play Bach on or whatever, but well, actually, then you know what I'd love. You know what I'd love to do. Actually, I'd love to get a room full of people who want Baroque style instrumentation only when you're playing Baroque music, and then play them this, and just watch their brains explode. Like what's that movie where everyone's heads explode?
Oh, Scanners?
Yeah, I want to see just a room full of scanners when they hear this.
Wow. Well, let's take a left turn and go to spectral music, which is sort of like the modern, well, it's not modern anymore, but sort of what happened during like post-Schoenberg. That's the time period we're talking about.
So I'm going to ask you the question again. What is the difference between microtonal and spectral?
Technically, you haven't asked it in this podcast yet.
Yeah.
That was deleted.
I know.
So, okay.
But here I am.
What's the difference between microtonal and spectral music? Okay, let's just give a brief overview of what spectral music is. Spectral music is it's a way of composing. It doesn't have to be microtonal. It's probably better if it is, because the idea is that the very, very basic idea is that you analyze the harmonic series and that somehow impacts your composition. That is very bare bones, and not all spectral composers like that, and not even, and the person that I'm going to show us doesn't even like the term spectral.
Okay, so microtonal is where you're breaking up the scale in different bits than we're used to. Spectral is where you're using the overtone series to influence the kind of harmonies you're choosing, rather than
the entire piece. It doesn't have to be harmony. It could be the structure of the piece. It could be the rhythm of the piece. It's a way of what's it called? A way of composing. It's a way of composing. It doesn't actually mean anything.
I'm just having a hard time figuring out, like, if I was going to sit down and write a spectral piece, where do I start?
Well, you have to study spectral music a bit. Mm-hmm. You can't just know that one thing and then.
How do I construct a piece of music based on the overtone series?
The only way that I've ever done it is you can do. Well, let's listen to this spectral piece by Grisey, and then I'll sort of explain how it works,
Okay.
and then you'll sort of maybe it make more sense. Anyway, this is Partiels by Grisey. It's amazing. So the entire first chunk of this piece is basically fundamental other stuff, and it's done. And it's very much like a, wave.
Oh, okay. I feel like for people out there who don't know what we're talking about when we're talking about fundamentals, what you mean is like if you were to very aggressively play the lowest keys on a piano, and then if you kept your hands down and listened for how the sound dissipated throughout the room, you would hear all these little all these other pitches on top of it.
Yeah. Which is the harmonic series.
Which is, that's the only way that I can really
sort
get it across to my youngest students is just like, okay, bash on the lower end of the piano and like listen for what happens afterwards. It's hard to hear, actually.
There's a cool you've probably done this before, but you can't do it on you have to do it on an acoustic piano, but what you do is you put lightly some keys without making any sound.
Yeah.
And then you did.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do that too.
That's
fine. You have to put the pedal down.
Well, you don't put the pedal down. Don't put the pedal down, and you just pick like, I don't know, 6 3 4 notes anywhere on the piano. You push them down without making a sound, and then you hit that one really quickly.
Yeah.
And then you
hit another note.
Yeah. You hit a low note, because what happens is the partials of the low note that match with the ones that you have put down get amplified, and then they poke over the top.
Ah, so they select themselves.
They do.
Yeah, okay, that's really cool.
You get sympathetic vibration, basically.
I find, like, I know that's just, like, the very beginning of that piece, but I enjoyed that just
it's
there.
So good.
It's really...
I saw it live, like, a couple of years ago. Oh, so good, yeah.
What venue?
It's not the Annex.
Oh,
it's the
VSO?
other one. Yes, the
VSO.
The VSO stage. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
I think it was there. It was either there or at the Annex, but it was so good. This entire piece is awesome. Like, oh, man. So good.
So the whole time you're listening for all the little fireflies of sound that are drifting upwards from the bottom.
Yeah, it's like
pitches. Yeah.
Like you're dropping a big chunk of water in a rock in the water and it's rippling out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I would enjoy going to see that live.
It's amazing. I think it's pretty difficult to play, but so does that sort of answer your question how spectral music is composed?
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't fully understand it because there's a bit more nuance to than what I'm saying, but it's sort of basic there. There's some there. It's like almost like a philosophy. It's like a way. It's a way of construction. And people argue about it because they can.
I mean, musicians are going to argue about everything they can.
So yeah, there's a lot. It's not really.
I mean, that comes from just like if you really care about what you do and you get really nerdy into whatever it is that you love, you're going to come up with some opinions for sure.
Definitely. Anyway, but yeah, that's Grisey. I love him a lot. He's like one of the founding fathers. Even though he hates the term spectral music, he didn't think his music was spectral. He like hated that term for some reason.
Okay.
And
is that like how Debussy hated being put into the
very similar, yeah.
Impressionist box?
Very similar.
Like
yeah.
that. Okay.
I mean, he's like the grandfather of this genre, and he doesn't think his music is this genre. So
I know it's always hard because like I want to respect an artist and be like, okay, I won't call it what you don't like it being called. But then the problem with music is that it does make it a lot easier to be able to put things into broad categories to talk about it.
Everybody I've talked to calls this spectral. I mean, like it just is. I mean, I think he just doesn't like the meaning of the word rather than the thing. Or he thought he was
Okay.
like, he's French, so he probably thought he was like above it or something. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, spectral music started in France. There's like Tristan Marais, Grisey, and a couple other ones. They were all in France, I think. Yeah, but it's super good. There's like large chunks of spectral music that I really love.
I wonder where that comes from, because like a lot of my favorite composers who do stuff that was kind of outside the box were French, like Debussy and Poulenc.
It's French art.
Yeah, they tend to go for weirder stuff, but it's never like off-putting in the same way as like there's some German music that, like, I mean, Schoenberg, like we bring him up all the time because he's the ghost of this podcast, but you know, a lot of his stuff is just really hard to listen to if you're not really into crunchy stuff. And then I feel like a lot of French stuff is just kind of weird, but you can still listen to it. You're just like, oh yeah, it sounds French. That's all.
Definitely. I think it just depends on. I mean, I could say that it's because the French have higher egos, so they're able to just sort of like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to do it. But who's to say?
Well, whatever's happening here, I'm liking it. So
It's beautiful. I love it. It's so good. Speaking of spectral music, let's listen to a bit of. I don't know how to say her name. Sahario. I don't know. Kaija Sariaho.
Oh, Kaya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kaya Sariaho, isn't it?
Sariaho. Okay, that
I don't
makes
know.
more sense.
I made that up when you sent it to me, like ages ago. I was meaning to work on some music by her, and I never got around to it because it was going to be a lot of work, and I had to put together a recital program in a certain amount of time. But she's cool.
She's gorgeous. Yeah. So we're gonna listen to Jardin Secret 3 from Nymphia. So this is
I mean, I'm getting massive Penderecki vibes from this.
Yeah.
This is harkening right back to episode 1 where we were talking about horror movie music and stuff like that.
very much so. I wanted to bring this in just to showcase that like this is the other side of spectralism. Like we heard the harmonic part in the partials, and this is the meat of it. So it's very textural based. The idea is that you're sort of taking it's sort of like a deconstruction of sound. You could argue that's kind of what it is. Methodology.
What is sound?
Exactly. They asked that question. About, what is it? What does it do? What if I take it apart and put it back together? That's kind of what they're doing.
Okay.
Which makes sense because I think the guy who did deconstruction, he is French and he was probably around that time. That's probably what this is all about. Anyway, so she's really interesting. Her music doesn't contain a whole lot of microtones, and a lot of it kind of sounds more traditional. Like her operas, especially because it's opera, it has to sound like opera. But she does use microtones, and this one is spectral, and she does do a lot of spectral music, which I really enjoy.
No, I wish I remembered. I know you sent me a piece that was for soprano and I think piano that I was looking at, and I think it was just really high and very eerie sounding. Do you remember if it had quarter tones in it or not?
I find it really hard to tell if she's using quarter tones. I think she uses them very sparingly, and or she's really good at hiding them within a texture, so it's just sort of added dusting on the top. I don't think it's not overt, and it's not like she's using any Edos or anything. I think it's all quarter tones. But
Yeah.
again, I haven't studied her work enough to really know for sure.
Leslie Wada does that too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Just like a quarter tone, just at very appropriate moments where you're like, oh, cool idea.
Yeah. I think it's very similar. It's all about the deconstruction of the sound and sort of finding something new through bending stuff.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really interesting.
But then, so you're saying there's not a lot of spectral stuff going on in there. Why is she a part of this context then?
There's not a lot of microtonal stuff. I have been told that she does use microtones. I couldn't find an exact example. Like this doesn't really have microtones. I wanted to bring it in to just show a better example of spectral music and sort of the other side of it. And just also because she's really cool and people need to know who she is. So
Yeah. Yeah, the sound deconstruction rather than picking out overtones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've been meaning to listen to more of her. She's interesting. She's Scandinavian, right?
Yes.
I think so.
Finnish, I want to say.
I want to say that too, but you don't want to mix up Sweden and Finland.
They don't like that?
I don't think Sweden especially would like that.
Oh, okay. Maybe not. I don't know any Swedes yet. Well, I think I know a couple, but. Wait, you're Swedish?
I'm sitting right here. I'm 1/3.
Okay, that's. I guess.
No, but I do also have friends who are genuinely from Sweden. Okay. Yes. Yeah. But oh my God, if you knew what they listen to. Woo-hoo-hoo.
It's not good.
Okay. This is one of the funnest nights ever, but there was a night where this particular person insisted that we drink Swedish liquor and listen to Scooter all night, and it was
Scooter's the way to go. Scooter is the way to go.
I feel hardcore. Which isn't even Swedish.
It's not?
No, isn't he German?
I thought he was Austrian.
I thought. Oh, well, that's always.
But I don't know. Anyway,
you know who else is Austrian?
Hitler? Let's talk about Mr. Haas, because he's cool too.
Thomas? As long as I'm misnaming people, let's just keep
Thomas?
going with that.
No,
Thomas Haas.
It's no, not that. Not the chocolatey. No, this guy's name is Friedrich Haas. See, I don't know how to say this first name, but it's Friedrich. George Friedrich Haas is so good. So this is In Vain. I'm going to play a little bit of this too. This is very spectral too. It's pretty dope, right?
I mean, again, I'm getting sci-fi horror movie vibes big time, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it does have that quality.
It's hard to escape that. You watch enough horror movies, and then you can't listen to this music without thinking like, oh my God, something bad is about to happen.
Yeah, it's hard to get. I try really hard to get out of that space because that's not. I don't think that's what this is about.
I know it's not. I know, but that's my initial reaction to it.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It is. I love it a lot. In Vain, it's super good. I've listened to it a couple times. This is the piece that has the bagpipe sound I was talking about.
So, is this written for an orchestra?
Orchestra, 24 musicians.
Okay, so a small orchestra.
I can't remember.
24, because like a normal orchestra would be like 200 people.
I don't know if they're doubled. I think it's not so huge. Well, I think it's not huge, no, but it's definitely a big. It's not like 2 people. It's like 24. It's large-ish. It's an ensemble.
Okay,
classical ensemble. It's got the beef.
What is this bagpipe sound you're referring to? Like, who is making the sound?
I don't know because it's a combination of all the instruments mixed together.
Can you play me that bit?
Yeah, here, let's see. It should happen at 1312, but here's from 1302.
I mean, it sounds to me like it's being played by the string instruments. You're just thinking it sounds like the tuning of bagpipes?
Yeah.
It's the flat 7. That's what you're picking up on.
Flat 7.
Yeah.
I think especially because it's on the strings, it's somehow it's like that kind of sharp.
You're right. Yeah, that is bagpipe tuning, but it doesn't have the abrasive quality of a bagpipe. I say that with full love in my heart for bagpipes. Those are my people, but
They know how it works. Bagpipes are the best.
Well, I love them, but actually I don't know if they are the best because they have a very limited range. It's like less than an
Yeah, I know.
octave.
I tried to write for them and it was a pain in the ass. I was like, why did I bother doing this? But
I mean, it's a fun limit to set yourself, I think.
yes.
A lot of really cool Celtic tunes have come out of writing for a very limited scale. And that's why we get that flat 7 thing, that Mixolydian or Dorian thing.
Yeah, I agree. But it's the way to go. It's the way to go. I love this piece. You should definitely hear. I'm gonna link a playlist of everything that I've played today. I think.
Yeah, because
really
everything you're playing, I'm like, I need to go back on
Yeah.
this at some point.
So I think we'll start doing that from now on because I think it's important. But let's go to my favorite composer, Mr. Ben Johnston. I'm just gonna start it.
Daniel Johnson.
No, Ben
No.
Johnston.
Okay.
Yeah, but that guy. I wanted this one. Damn it. Okay, this guy is so good.
Okay, I love it. You love it. Can you explain to our listeners why that is not a mess?
I'll try. So, Ben Johnston, as we said, was friends with Harry Partch. He worked with him, so most of his scales and understanding of harmony are based on Pythagorean and Greek ideas. So I think he uses limit 13 and limit. Everything's based on the harmonic series. He's not doing any Edo kind of stuff. He's not just dividing the octave and then figuring it out afterwards. He's probably got, I can't remember. He doesn't have like a set amount of pitches per octave or even a set amount of pitches per piece. He just sort of invents pitches as he goes because it shifts all over the place. Okay, so the string quartet that did this album and this piece, it took them 10 years to practice this and play it properly. This is after 10 years of playing this piece. They did almost 1,000 takes for this piece.
Okay, I'm
studio.
gonna play. I hate it when people do this, but I'm gonna play the musical devil's advocate.
Of course, sure. What's the point?
Why?
Because it sounds so good.
I
There's
know,
no way you could get this.
but
I would never want to make music like this because it would take so much effort and like it's for so little like back. Like you write a piece in like the 60s, it only gets performed in like 2010. And you've never heard it until then?
Okay, maybe a better question is, okay, why do we love this? Because like as soon as I hear that, I'm like smiling. I'm like, this is great.
Well, because it's beautiful.
Okay, but you're gonna have to define it further than beautiful.
I just love the harmony is so interesting. There's so many different harmonies happening at the same time. The crunch and the pull and the push and pull of the harmonies I've just never heard them do that before. They're going in and out of consonants, dissonance, but consonants and dissonances that I don't know existed. And it's not like the other stuff that was Edo where it was like fixed. It's completely changing all the time. And actually, I'm going to give you, let's do a little bit more of a deep dive into this exact piece because you'll be excited to know he loves Schoenberg as well. This piece uses 12-tone techniques in just intonated. So he'll have microtonal tone rows that are like 27 pitches, 100 pitches long. That's a tone row.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to call it. I think if Schoenberg were alive today, he would like this.
I think he probably knew this existed because this guy, I don't know when did Schoenberg die?
1951.
Oh, wow. See, that's like, okay, so he probably did know this guy. This probably guy did this afterwards because this guy was not doing this in the 50s, that's for sure.
No, I mean, like some of Schoenberg's students would have known about this guy and maybe
definitely.
possibly interacted with him. I don't know. Where did this guy live?
He's American.
So, yeah, he could have met Dika Newlin. He could have met...
I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Alvin Berg was living in the States, right?
I don't know. You do. yeah, but that the tone rows are so. Oh, I analyzed this string quartet number 7. I mean, this is a variations, like a classical variations. You know what we're talking about?
I do.
Yeah, like
So he's starting with a theme,
Yeah.
so to speak, and then he's
changing the theme
elaborating
each
on
time, and it's weird because the whole you hear it because it's kind of repetitive after a while, but it's still like it's so changing and beautiful it doesn't matter. Also, a lot of his pieces are palindromic,
Oh, that's fun.
so
Okay, so all the
Yeah,
Tool fans out there
Yeah.
need to get on board with Ben Johnston because he's the Tool of classical music.
that's he's the tool. Oh, he's so good. I've listened to this piece like 100 times. It's so good. Just like
Okay, so you're mentioning patterns then, and now that I've brought up Tool, I can't not. Does he do the whole
circle of fifths.
no, the shell
The
thing?
shell. Oh yeah, his entire
The what am I talking about right now?
I know what you're talking about. Golden ratio.
The golden ratio. He's working with the golden ratio.
The Fibonacci sequence.
Yes.
So he loves the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence. All of his stuff is like smack dab. He puts it in everywhere. Apparently, like
Classical Tool, man.
yeah, definitely, 100%. Well, he came first, and then they stole it.
I'm yeah.
Although this has never been performed, so I don't know. This was performed. He got to hear it right before he bit the bullet.
Oh my god.
But like he almost didn't make it.
Jesus.
I know. I can't imagine
Imagine waiting that long and never getting to hear your composition.
I know you can't even do like a good electronic version of it. Like it's not even possible. Like it would take so much time, and it wouldn't sound nearly as cool.
No.
Like it's not going to be. I think the most amazing thing is the ensemble, the Kepler Quartet. They basically devoted their entire life to this piece, like 10 years. That's like, and also like the tuning. I don't know. It's just like you got to go all in on this. There's no like sidestepping anything in this one.
Whew.
They haven't done anything else. Well, they have, but like
I'm sure as musicians they're working on other projects. They've got to be.
they don't have many. Like what's the other one? The RGD Quartet. Like the Kepler Quartet is that level. I don't know how you say that. I said RGD, RG. Anyway, one of the fancy ones. They have like they release like a new quartet album every year, kind of thing. They have Ben Johnston's quartets, which is like there's 12. I think there's 12 of them. There's like two albums worth of quartets, or no, there's 3 albums worth of quartets.
How many people know about this?
I mean, Adam Neely thinks he's a god because he mentioned him in his most difficult music video where he says that Ben Johnston's music is the most difficult music to play because
I think that's why I know his name. I don't think it's from you. I think it's from Adam Neely, actually. I've heard about him.
I heard about him before Adam Neely, but that's just me, so. Actually, yeah. But it was really cool. He's so good. It's like, I want to make it, but it's maybe a lifelong pursuit.
But I mean, maybe you could make something like this, but it's like 2 minutes long instead of
25, and make 12 of these. Some of these are really hard. Like if we play let's just play this part. Let's see if it'll load. Like that violin line is nuts. Or it might be a viola, but
actually, I don't think that sounds that difficult to me. It's more the coordination of the other people coming in at the right time together. It's
a string quartet, though. You just
if
you're good enough,
I feel like the timing is going to be the part that's going to take the rehearsal, not what he's doing. He's just doing tremolo. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the tuning of the tremolos though. It's like microtonal moving. That's what I found hard because also there's so much movement and it's like, but maybe not. I don't.
But the only movement is this. Da, 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 da. Don't forget your brain is thinking it's faster than it is because you're hearing the like.
Yeah, okay,
I'm explaining very badly, but I see your point though. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure.
Yeah, these sounds really difficult too. Maybe the beginning will make more sense when I was talking about. Let's just try this. Oh, yeah, it's the same thing actually. The same tremolo stuff.
I think what sounds more difficult to me in that is the dynamics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, I adore this guy. He is my Schoenberg, I guess.
Oh.
Ben Johnston
Ben
perennials.
Johnston groupie over here. Nicholas is gonna show his tits to Ben Johnston's ghost someday.
Oh, I guess that's insane.
Yeah.
But oh, one more thing I gotta mention about this. So this guy is so traditional to the point where he uses. We didn't listen to that one, but he uses "Oh Danny Boy." He does a theme and variations on "Oh Danny Boy," and I listened to it. I didn't know "Oh Danny Boy" was in this, and I loved it. And then I heard "Oh Danny Boy," and I heard "Oh Danny Boy" was in it. I was like, no, I can't listen to it anymore because "Oh Danny Boy" sucks. But it's so weird that he would use like traditional things like "Oh Danny Boy," tone rose, palindromes, theme and variations.
Okay, so that actually reminds me of something I was gonna bring up as soon as I heard him, and so. Do you think that Jacob Collier has listened to this guy? Because he sounds like the classical version of Jacob to me. And when you mention "Oh Danny Boy," it reminds me of when Jacob was doing "In the Bleak Midwinter," right?
Okay.
A very traditional, I
see what
think,
you mean.
British kind of song, maybe a little overdone for some. And then it's like a little Easter egg that they're inserting, or at least in this guy's case.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Easter egg because apparently the entire piece is based on it, but you can't tell.
Really?
Yeah, I can show you later, but you can't tell. It just sounds like the same thing we just heard. But
man, I love you know what I would love so much. Okay, so I have Danny Boy trauma in my life because because I used to play a lot of music in legions when I was a young kid because I used to play in a fiddle group, a Celtic fiddle group. And so old people love that stuff. And so we would always play it in legions on Remembrance Day and Robbie Burns Day and stuff like that. And old people always request Danny Boy, or they'll always sing it because it's a big thing for a certain generation, especially veterans. And so I came to hate it a lot because you always hear old men singing like, "Oh, Danny Boy," and you're like, I can't, never again. I just can't. And it can be very cheesy. I'm not saying it's cheesy in its origin, but it can be, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, never again. I can't, never again. I would love if a legion requested me to play, or anyone to play, and they requested Danny Boy, and you played the Ben Johnson version.
Nice. That'd be a.
Can someone please do this?
They'd have to practice for 10 years first.
Been preparing for this my whole life. This one Legion gig.
Or just hire the Kepler Quartet to play the Legion. The one.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just underpaid. Well, I don't know. I don't know if the Legion could afford the Kepler Quartet. Probably not. They're probably like $2,000. No, I don't know how much money. They probably cost a lot of money to send them anywhere. But yeah, that's funny. That'd be exciting. I'd like to see that.
One could argue that the way that the old men sang at the Legion was microtonal.
Oh yeah, it's a chorus of microtonality. Well, that's like all those videos of people taking bad singers and reharming them properly. With the red dress. We heard one of them today, but there's a bunch of them. Like any bad singer, they're so cool. Like reharming bad singers is such a fun idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it sometime, but
you don't have any bad singers in your life.
I guess not.
You gotta meet some. They're all pretty good.
Oh yeah. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I think we covered a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ben Johnson is the way to go. Everyone listen to him and buy his CD because he's cool.
And he's dead.
Yeah, I think. Well, I really hope he's not. But
the Kepler Quartet is still doing stuff?
100%. I don't know. I really hope they go and tour his thing. They might. Although it's probably too hard to play it. They only did it. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a cool. I would definitely see that. Oh, I'd spend like $200 to see that.
I wonder if it's one of those things where it takes a lot of work initially, but once you have it, you can come back and do it again. Because I feel that way about a lot of Schoenberg stuff that I've worked on, where I haven't performed it in years, but it's forever burned into my brain because I had to work on it so hard.
I don't know. I think it would depend on whether or not when they originally recorded it in the studio, whether or not they got 3 good takes, or they recorded until they got 1 good take as a fluke.
Jesus, how would you cut and paste that
Well,
stuff?
you don't. You have to do it perfectly all the way through.
Yeah.
Which is why they did, like, I think they did 900 and something takes. Yeah. Probably straight through too. It wasn't like in sections. Although maybe they did like each movement separately. I hope they did each movement separately.
You would think they would. You'd need to take breaks mentally at the very least. But I'm also just thinking about tendonitis at that point.
This was not one session. It probably took them like 3 or 4 years just to record it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
So cool.
I guess I have to ask because I know there is, but we didn't play any today. But there's got to be vocal spectral music out there.
There's not very much of it, at least that I could find. I think it's just because it's really hard to do. It's much easier to do microtonal music on instruments because it's more accurate and it's easier to get accurate.
Yeah.
I think also because singers just don't practice it.
I mean, I would. I totes my goats would.
when I was at VCC writing some spectral music, we had a singer in the new music ensemble, and I didn't know what to do with her basically. So I wrote her some stuff, and she's like, I can't do this because I have no reference for any of these pitches.
Well, she was a student.
No, she was really good. She wasn't also like, it was terrible. I was just really bad. It was a terrible vocal score.
Basically, I mean, to be fair, actually, a lot of stuff that you have written has been very difficult.
And this was like, I was trying to write it easy. It was basically just like 2 bars of rest, 1 pitch, 2 more bars of rest, a random pitch. But
that's
there was
your problem.
Yeah, I know.
The random pitch.
It was terrible. It was like, why did I do this?
I am so down for doing stuff that is microtonal for sure.
Yeah.
My ear is capable of doing that with a lot of time of practicing. Yeah. I'm down for it, but like it would take some time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why, we looked at Easley Blackmore. I think that's why he didn't do anything acoustically, because there just aren't any musicians who will play it. It's really hard to find people who are willing to take the time. I mean, I'm amazed that Ben Johnston found the Kepler Quartet to spend 10 years on a piece. Like, does that even happen ever?
Maybe were they friends?
There must have been something. Like, obviously they just really wanted to do it. There must have been like, you couldn't do anything for 10 years and not really want to do it. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just hard to find the musicians. If you can do it yourself electronically, it's just much easier. I mean, I think the bands that we heard that were doing it, they formed as a group, and they're doing, comparatively to the Ben Johnson stuff, much simpler things. It's like, Edo versus just intonation is much like, I haven't done any just intonation stuff, mostly because I don't understand any of the terms. I really like how it sounds, and I've like dabbled very little, but like I don't really understand it. I just like how it sounds. Whereas the Edo stuff is very clear. It's the same. Like, it's 12. Like, we understand how 12 Edo works, so we understand how 17 Edo works once you sort of figure out the scales again, because you just got to learn the scales again. It's just like starting from scratch, basically.
Mentally.
Yeah, mentally.
That's the craziest part of it. Is like, it's not just like, oh, I'll just learn a pattern with my hands. It's like I have to get used to
they're completely different
what
patterns.
sounds quote unquote right to my brain. Yeah. Even just figuring out what a quarter tone is supposed to be is like a process of like kind of going between a semitone of right, and then like you have to find that middle bit. Yeah. Even just doing that and then being able to hit the middle bit accurately. Yeah, is it's like squeezing your brain like a sponge. So I love it. But yeah, and then if you're doing that for all the pitches and not necessarily with context, because they're playing like all those guys are doing different harmonies and stuff, like you're saying, like woo-wee. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. A lot of focus. Massive focus. A lot of focus. What's the instrumentation for that, actually?
With Ben Johnston?
Yeah.
It's a string quartet.
Yeah. Okay.
So all string quartets. They're just 4 violin. I'm assuming you've played in a string quartet at least once.
Yeah, I guess I did. Forgot about that.
But
it's been a long time.
That's why to be honest, he's the reason I like string quartets. Like, I actively search out other ones because of his starting point, which seems backwards, but it's beautiful.
I don't know to me it isn't backwards, because I find old school string quartets before the 20th century very boring. And then it's like Shostakovich and Schoenberg that made them cool in my brain.
Yeah, maybe actually that's what it is too.
And Bartok.
Yeah.
But that's also us.
Well, seems like we're hitting the 50-minute mark. So
We did it! We did it!
we
Did
did
it!
it. I am Nicholas Marriott, and you are.
Holly Beckmeyer.
I have music on Tidal and streaming services.
And I have music on Spotify. Chill.
It's so different.
Actually, mine's on Tidal too. For the record.
Yeah, see, it's much better. It sounds way better on Tidal. Like on Spotify, it doesn't sound good, and it sounds better out there. As does my music, which is a Happy Kid Toy Band, and I have stuff on Bandcamp under my name, Nick Grainwing Marriott. I don't know. I need to figure out how to name it properly, but. And how did we find you?
Same name, Beckmyer. That's my last name. Nobody can spell it.
Yes.
There aren't enough E's.
Sounds weird.
For everybody. All right.
Good night.